in. Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross today on a Monday. What a crazy weekend in college football. It started on Friday night with something that hasn't happened ever. I'll just wear it right now. I lost a bet to Jack. Florida State lost to Duke in a game they really could have won. I mean, they can't catch. I'm at rock bottom. So, two
at least
whiskeys.
you're addressing it.
Look, that was a 2 whiskey and 2 gummy game.
Woo!
I'll just tell you. When I got here on Saturday morning to the pregame show, I had erased it from my memory.
Yeah.
Until you said, hey, that offensive line sucks. And I was like, oh, man.
Dude, that's what – okay, so I'm sitting there watching the game, and I know that they've been bad all year long. And I know DJU coming over was not the best thrower, and there were better options out there that they could have evaluated. But after seeing that, and I'm just looking at this offensive line, and they can't block anybody, I'm like, man, how much of this was really on DJ? Like, I know he's not that great, but it seems like whoever you put back there behind that offensive line, they're screwed regardless because they can't block anybody, man.
No, they can't block. They can't catch. They can't throw. I mean, what is life? So that one started on Friday night, but the bigger one on Friday night was BYU, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State finally looked like they were themselves for a minute, and then BYU was like, we're sorry we let you experience the joy of the past.
Yeah.
Done. BYU, Iowa State, very similar games against very similar opponents in West Virginia and Oklahoma State where I'm sorry, not West Virginia and Oklahoma State, UCF and Oklahoma State. West Virginia was last week for Iowa State, but West Virginia got throttled by Kansas State, so that's another thing for another segment. But like those games, I think the score was essentially the same too, right? It was 38-35 in both of them. And so both of them won, last score of the game. Iowa State game was so exciting. It was so great, unless you're a UCF fan. But UCF in control most of that game, and then they let Iowa State hang around and hang around and hang around. It reminded me a lot of that Baylor game they lost last year where you make enough mistakes or just don't get the stops you need to, and a team who probably should have lost the game is out of it. Oklahoma State, same thing. Let them hang around and hang around and hang around and couldn't put them away, and then the better team wins out in those. Auburn and Mizzou was like that, although I don't think Mizzou is really all that to write home about. I do think it shows where Mizzou is compared to where Auburn is right now. And so you have those where this week was not like the crazy week of upsets so much as it just was the week of this kind of shows you where you are.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a lot about Texas and Georgia. There's so much that happened in that game. But I do think that Texas and Georgia, that fits into where that is. This is where you are right now. Nothing is permanent, but now you're really starting to see who the contenders and who the pretenders really are.
No, you are. And I think kind of when you're talking about that UCF game against Iowa State, it reminded me a lot of last year when they went to Norman, where you went into a hostile environment where nobody really expected you to do anything, and you took it to the limit, but you just weren't able to find a way to win. I came away really impressed with Rocco Beck once again, like when it was his time to shine and when Iowa State needed it, he put the team on his back and literally carried them into the end zone for that final touchdown there that put them over the top. But I was really impressed by them. I think that right now, if you look at the Big 12, there's no doubt it's BYU and Iowa State that have kind of separated themselves. I think Kansas State, while they stumbled, they're kind of finding their way back in that mix as well. But, yeah, I mean, that was a really gutsy performance by Iowa State there. And I did not expect Oklahoma State to go into Provo and compete, honestly.
No, I didn't either.
You hear about that environment. We heard Gundy talk about earlier in the week, or there was talk about how he never coached there in that environment. And I think they handled it well. I think Garrett Rangel looked comfortable at times. It really sucks that how he got injured on that, and now he's done, and you got to rely on Alan Bowman. But I think that you could realistically say that, and you could take what it is, but if Rangel doesn't get hurt, I think that's one the Pokes probably could win. Ollie Gordon showed up a little bit, but hats off, man. BYU and Iowa State keep finding ways to win, and it's really impressive to see what they're doing this season with, especially more so from a BYU perspective, where nobody really gave them a chance at all. Like, we knew Iowa State was going to be in the mix, like with all the talent they were bringing back. But what Kalani's got that team doing up there in Provo is impressive.
Yeah, no, I'm full, like, This Iowa State BYU in the Big 12 championship.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
For TV networks is probably the antithesis of Yankees Dodgers World Series, where like I'm sure Rob Manfred's like, like putting nipple clamps on and stuff. He's so excited about that crap. My gosh. Oh man. You know what's really going to hurt, especially if the Dodgers win and Mookie Betts is a huge part of that for me? I'm just going to cry. Like I'm
the
actually
championship
going
over
to
the
cry.
Yankees.
I'm actually going to cry. I'm just going to be like, he could be the like World Series MVP. Mookie Betts had 5 home runs in the series and outplayed even Ohtani and made great defensive plays. Congratulations, Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's gonna happen. That's exactly what's gonna happen. But just continuing on down the tunnel of this week. I mean, there weren't a lot of like really bad games. Again, like we're starting to get into that. And while we're kind of hovering in the Big 12, I'll just say the most shocked I was is that Baylor had 59 points in them. Yeah. I mean, that is – it felt like all the touchdowns they've left on the board the last, like, year just all came out in the second half of that game. Like, everything they've left on the board, they poured into Lubbock. And that's 2 wins in a row in Lubbock. And they've dominated that series the last decade, really, which is really surprising to me. I thought that the way that Tech was playing, but bye week, confidence, I don't know what it is, but – and now you look at Baylor's schedule down the rest of the way.
Dude, they can legitimately win out. They have a good shot of winning out.
I mean, they've got Oklahoma State this week, who's in a free fall. They have TCU who's struggling. They've got West Virginia, who's struggling. They've got Houston, who's struggling,
and Kansas, who's struggling. Like their schedule is the dregs, and like they're in that. Like the lower part of the conference that's all like, what is happening to us is that group now. So who comes out of that group feeling good about themselves? Who comes out feeling bad? Baylor's got a great shot of doing that. And, I mean, had they been able to hang on against Colorado and been able to finish against Iowa State, like you're looking at a different thing, and maybe that woke them up. Maybe this is like that 2000 and what was it, 12 year. Before they won back-to-back, where they went up, got thumped by Iowa State, looked about as bad as you could, and then rallied. And again, the schedule works out for them. They're not going to the playoff with 4 losses or anything like that. But look, if you can go now like 4-2 down the stretch, like you're 6-6 and doing well. So I was looking this morning for some content for the article tomorrow, in the web article I do every Tuesday, and I come across Brett McMurphy's article on the Action Network HQ, where he does like his bowl projections, and he has right now Baylor projected, I believe, it to go play Iowa in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl out in Phoenix. Yeah. So I mean, that's legit. That they legitimately can. I was really impressed with Sawyer Robertson. I think going back home, having that homecoming game. Growing up a Tech fan, wanting to play for Mike Leach, having that opportunity before he passed and coming over to Baylor, he really took advantage of it. That was really, really awesome to see him own the moment. I think having Bryson Washington back is definitely a game changer for that rushing attack, because we've seen flashes, but he's really been the only consistent running back they've had. I still don't know what's going on with Richard Reese. He just hasn't been the same since he didn't get much playing time last year. That's kind of weird to see, but I think there's still plenty of room to work there. The defense didn't like put up gaudy numbers by any means. Baron Morton still threw for 3 touchdowns and like almost 300 yards. So there's still some work to be done there. But I was really impressed to see the offense come out and click. We've been waiting, right? We've seen Baylor have flashes, but they finally put it all together. I just need to see them do it consistently. Now you have an opportunity where you get to come home. You got 3 home games to finish out the stretch. You got a blackout coming up with TCU. You have homecoming this week. Can you come and bring that type of intensity to McLean Stadium and actually win in front of your home crowd? Because they've been really disappointing at home over the past couple of years. But, man, I like where they're at right now. I think getting healthy is key for them. There's still a lot of room to grow, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see them reel off about 4 or 5 wins and make a bowl.
Yeah, I mean –
it's crazy to say.
I mean, they looked rudderless. And they could – go out this week against Oklahoma State and be back to who they were. It could be just like the UCF game last year all over again, where they followed that up with nothing a year ago.
Yeah, that's what I said. You got to take care of it, though.
Yeah.
Now you've got to.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to use this momentum that they have. And, this is a great opportunity to beat somebody at home who people have heard of.
Right.
Like beating Oklahoma State would be a huge, huge deal for them, even though they're both 3-4. Like, this is the bowl. Like, it really is. And that's what their schedule is the rest of the way, is teams that are in that boat. Like, they had to make it through this first part, and they could have made it through at least a game better. They could be 4-3 right now, at least, as opposed to 3-4, if not maybe even one game better than that. But here they are. The team finally looked confident. Like, that's what I always thought before, was the minute that they lost momentum, they just never got it back. Or when they were kind of like in the Iowa State game, they were kind of chasing it neck and neck. Same with Colorado. You're kind of chasing it neck and neck. And then because that team was better than you, they pulled it out, right? Like, they were chasing the momentum neck and neck. It wasn't something, but against Tech, second half, Taj Brooks comes out, scores a touchdown. I know I felt this way. I'm sure you felt this way. It was like,
here we go.
Well, there's where it starts again. They got the good first half. They're not going to have a good second half.
Yeah.
And no, they put 4 quarters together for the first time this year. So
no, they did. I also think it was good to see Steve Linton go out and get his kind of revenge game. Like, he balled out in Lubbock, and that was kind of cool to see as well.
Yeah, he was off sides a few times.
Everywhere. But it happened.
He was a little too excited.
It happens.
But yeah, he did have that revenge game. All right. I'm trying to see how long we can delay, like, build up the Texas and Georgia game. We'll talk about it in the middle segment, because I want to make sure we get to some of the other things that happened. Indiana just destroyed Nebraska. Smokey kind of saw that coming. I didn't. Like, I thought it'd be a much better game, but they just got rolling down the hill, and it was unstoppable.
Kirk Cignetti's phenomenal coach, and I love the quote that was floating around about him, like, Google me, I win. Like, that was hilarious to me, and I think they're really fun to watch. They're not, like, it's not a fluke. Like, they are legit. It sucks that Curtis Rourke got hurt, and now he's kind of going to be out. They have a big game coming up this week, which I think they could still win without him. But I'm interested to see how that offense changes with him not at the helm, because – And that would be unfortunate if that was the case, then that derailed something, because they are building something special up there in Indiana.
Yeah. And now, look, I think I'm not gonna predict an upset at Iowa State this week for Nebraska, but I do think that UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Iowa, all very winnable games for that team. And if they lost this week and then won out, I wouldn't be shocked. Or if they lost this week and then finish 7-5, 8-4, like they look like a 7-5 and 8-4 team to me.
I saw that they're 0-26 against ranked teams. It's like 26. Like, how the hell does that happen for a program like Nebraska?
I don't know. Another week, another Miami fast and loose win, and another assist from the ACC officials in Charlotte. Do you think that they got the fumble forward pass call right, Garrett?
I think I can see it going either way. To me, Cam Ward's arm was coming forward.
Well,
it was coming forward.
It was right in that spot of
the way they called it a touchdown on the field to go back. I didn't know that there was going to be enough evidence to overturn that. That was the key part. But I do believe it was a pass.
Yeah, and look, when you're a team that's that good and Team of Destiny now, their defense is not anything really all that special as we've seen. They've got playmakers. They've got guys who can step up in it, but that offense it's the best in the country right now. Miami's got the best offense in the country.
I think those two balls that Xavier Restrepo missed, like, he almost came away with 2 top 10 SportsCenter top 10 catches.
Well, he had a great play.
So good, man.
Right before the half that set up. They were, or in the third quarter. Restrepo's legit.
He is.
He is legit.
He reminds me a lot of Ricky Pearsall for Florida.
Yeah.
Like, they have a lot of similarities, what they can do, and, like, the down and distance when they're used and stuff. They have a lot of similarities to me.
Yeah. Ricky Pearsall back this week, actually, against the Chiefs played. So, shook off a bullet wound. So good for Ricky Pearsall. Okay, I'm going to say this about Alabama and Tennessee. and I think people would buy this from me on Alabama. I'm going to also say it about Tennessee. I don't think either of them are really all that great.
No, I told y'all. I texted y'all that text last week saying Bama wasn't a top 10 team.
No. I don't think they're a top 15 team.
I don't think they are either.
They're in the top 15
and it brings
right now
me
because
so
of
much
Bama.
joy.
Anybody else has the last stretch that they have, and
they're out of the poll.
And they're like 20, like Michigan. They're like 24th,
yeah.
right? And then Michigan fell out this week because they do not have a quarterback.
No.
But Alabama, like if they weren't Alabama,
yeah, they'd be gone.
They'd be out of the poll.
Like Jalen Milroe's good, Ryan Williams is good, but like I don't know. I thought Milroe would take a step forward in the system, just kind of seeing what DeBoer has been able to do with quarterbacks in the past, but that just hasn't been. And I don't know if it's necessarily the case. It's just like there's a lot on him. He's asked to really carry that team to victories, and they just don't have it. They don't have the depth in the trenches.
You know what I'll tell you that they don't have, which I'm surprised, and they didn't really have it last year. They had a little bit more than they do now, but where's the badass running back at Alabama?
He's gone. He's not there.
They haven't really had that in a couple years. They were better with it last year, but Jam Miller hasn't really, ripped it up for them. They rely too much on Milroe, which is not something they ever had to do in the past. And on the Tennessee side, I think Nico Amaliava is going to be fantastic. Like, there's going to be a year where we're like, holy crap, look at this guy. Mm-hmm. But right now,
he's a freshman.
It looks like they've kind of figured him out a little bit.
Yeah, and he took a nasty shot too. Like that shot where I thought he messed his back up pretty bad. I'm just glad to see him get back out there on the field. But no, I mean, I think people have kind of figured out how to attack him. He's going to get better and he's going to progress. But I think the hype around him and everything is more so focused on that check and people knowing what he's getting made. And when you watch him play, it's like, well, is he living up to it? Which is kind of unfair. But at the same time, I understand it. But I think Tennessee they're good, but they're not what people, I think, he's not on the par of what Hendon Hooker was. No. And I think that's what people are kind of adjusting to.
Well, and he might surpass
Hooker. But right now, they're trying to – it's an adjustment period.
Yeah, absolutely. So –
and another thing, don't storm the damn field for beating that Bama team.
Well, you just beat them last year.
Yeah, like why are we doing this?
Or 2 years ago. The last time you were there, you just did it.
That's not a field storming situation. No. I think fans need to, like – I don't know if it's a viral moment with the kids or not. Like, that's not when you storm the field. Like, that was a pathetic team.
No, you beat a championship caliber Bama team a couple years ago.
Right. That was, and you earned it.
You earned it. Hadn't played them that well in a long time and earned it. Kick at the end of the game, all that stuff. That is that. This was not that.
No, like Vandy, yes.
You just cheapened that moment.
Right.
If you stormed the field in 22 and then did again in 24, you got to feel like,
Yeah.
Like if you're one of the people who are in both of those field storming, you'd be like,
it shouldn't feel the same.
Yeah, no. I think you need to save your field stormings for the special moments, or you cheapen them.
Right.
Look, Vanderbilt shouldn't rush the field again for a while.
No.
And hopefully those kids are smart enough to do so at a school like Vanderbilt. Just another couple quick observations. I think A&M LSU going to be a really great game this week.
Yes.
Both those teams are playing really well. A&M did not dominate Mississippi State like I think maybe the fans wanted them to, but they never lost control of the game. Mm-hmm. And that is, I don't think that they've had control of games regularly under any of the previous 4 head coaches. Like every time you watched A&M, it was, all right, I mean, like, they've got some good players. Let's see what happens. And then you play Big 12, SEC, whatever. It was like when they play a good team, it's just like any LSU game was that they're playing like, oh, hey, look, they pulled that out. Or, LSU's team full of dogs just ate them up. But they look now, Mike Elko's got them where they control the pace of the game. Mm-hmm. And they and Notre Dame were in a ridiculous tug of war. And then since then, like that, I wouldn't even call that it wasn't a great game for either team. It was just like that was 2 defensive geniuses like locking horns. And then I like what I've seen from Mike Elko and A&M. Like they are, again, they're very like fundamental. There's not a lot of flash there, but they couldn't live that life. That was not them.
No.
That they were pretending to be flashy. Like you can you can be wealthy and not flashy. You can be the Yellowstone of teams. Like, be the Yellowstone of teams. Do that. That's what you need to be. You're a truck, be a truck.
Right.
Yeah. Don't walk around wanting to be a Lamborghini. You're a truck. That's who you are. And if you are the best truck that you can be, you can win a lot. That's why, look, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, all these schools, those are Ferraris and Lamborghinis and high performance cars, right? They know how to do that. They know how to do this. A&M, teams like that are not. They're trucks. But you can win being a truck. But you have to accept the fact that you're a truck.
Yep.
So that's what they have to do. And that's like I feel like I told them that they were like a 6-year-old. Like, buddy, it's cool to be a truck. Some people are trucks. Some people are Honda Civics. Some people are Winnebagos.
Stay in your lane.
You just have to figure out who you are and embrace it. And whoever you are is wonderful. Now, come on, let's get some ice cream, son.
Nice pep talk.
Thanks, Dad.
Insane.
The more you know. That's what that was right there.